What's going on, guys? My name is Yasta, and today I'm going to be giving you guys some set ideas that I've come up with for Outer Banks, which is Netflix's new hit show. If you guys haven't heard of it already, it takes place in North Carolina and follows a group of teens who are going on a treasure hunt and eventually an escape from the island. Now, these are set ideas completely thought up by me, and these were actually voted on by people over on Instagram. I asked you guys, do you want to see a CMF draft first or set ideas first? And people voted for set ideas. So if you're not following me already, go ahead and follow me at YastaBricks. And don't worry, that CMF draft is still coming pretty soon. So without any further ado, let's get into these sets. So the first set is going to be a pretty iconic one to fans of the show, and that is the HMS Pogue, which is John B. and the rest of the Pogue's boat that they ride around on over the course of the season. Now, just to get this out of the way, 5 out of the 7 sets I have for you guys today are mainly vehicle sets, and I was wanting to put in more location-based sets, but the really iconic things in the show were actually vehicles, and of those vehicles, a lot were boats, because boating and boats is just a huge part of Outer Banks in general. So the first set, of course, is the HMS Pogue. And the characters inside of the set would be John B., Pope, and Deputy Shoop, who would be an exclusive minifigure inside the set. You can't find him anywhere else. And then the build would be the HMS Pogue boat, of course, with a bit of greenery to represent the marsh where they find the shipwreck pretty early on. And I think the price of the set would be about $25 to $30 since it's not a huge boat and it just comes with a few minifigures. I didn't want to include all of the Pogues inside of the set because I feel like you'd be getting a little bit too much and then people wouldn't really want to buy the other sets. And normally LEGO doesn't really include all the characters of a show unless it's in a super expensive set like they did for Stranger Things. So yeah, that is the HMS Pogue. The next set is going to be the Pogue van, another very iconic vehicle, just like the HMS Pogue, but of course this one is on land. And the characters inside of the set would be JJ, Kiara, Rafe Cameron, and Topper. I thought these characters would be pretty cool to include. There is no John B inside of the set, even though he is seen in this van a lot, but that's because he's literally in all 6 of the other sets, so I just didn't want to oversaturate the line with John B's. Now, the build would be the Pogue van with a spacious interior for 5 to 6 figures. That way you could fit all of the Pogues that you get throughout the sets inside of this van, and it would have 2 dirt bikes for the antagonists, of course being Rafe and Topper, where you can recreate the scene where they pull up to the van. The price would be $40 or $50, which I think is pretty fair considering you can get a decent sized van alongside 2 bikes. Now, before this next set, I just want to issue a big spoiler warning. I don't know why you're still watching if you have not seen the entire series or just don't really care about spoilers, but this is where the spoilers are going to get heavy. Anyways, the next set is going to be the Cameron plane. Inside of this set, you would of course get John B, and then for the Camerons, you'd get Sarah, Ward, and Rafe, and then you would get Sheriff Peterkin as well. The build of this set would of course be the Cameron family plane, and it would have space for 4 minifigures and a cargo hold full of gold. Now, I was thinking about putting the Crane Estate as a set in this wave, but I feel like it'd just be way too expensive, and the build wouldn't really be that interesting because it's basically just a house, and I know you could say this is basically just a plane, but I feel like it's a style of plane that we don't really see that often in LEGO. And so that's why I decided to include the gold in this set and not another set. The price would be like $60 or $70, I'm thinking, because I feel like that seems to be pretty fair for the interior space I'd want to see inside the set, as well as all the cool minifigures you get in here. And of course, you can recreate the infamous scene where Rafe shoots Sheriff Peterkin, which was very sad. And I feel like this set would go hand in hand with the last set being the Pogue van, because these 2 vehicles go head to head and John B stops the plane using the van, which is a really cool and powerful scene. The 4th set on my list would be the Phantom, which is another really popular boat from the show that didn't even really come into play until the way end of the series, but it was still really cool and memorable nonetheless. And even though the boat only lasted 1 episode, I still think it is worthy for a set. The characters inside of here would be John B, Sarah, of course, because they escape on the boat towards the end, and then of course you get JJ and JJ's father because they are the family that owns the boat, and then you'd get an SBI agent as well as Ward Cameron because that would tie into the side build, which I'll mention in a second. And the main build of the set would be the Phantom boat, which would be a lot bigger than the Pogue boat from earlier in the video, and this would have some cabin space where you could have a little bed and some cooking stuff. Just a decent sized boat for people who want to get a cool Lego boat but maybe want to get something bigger than the Pogue boat or something smaller than the next boat I'm about to talk about. And then the side build would be a little tent for the SBI that was seen towards the end of the series, where you could put in Ward Cameron and reenact the scene where Ward and John are talking to each other over the intercom. The price, I'm thinking, would be about $60 to $80, probably on the higher end of that considering all that I want to see inside of the set, but I think it would be really darn cool. Next up, you would get the Cameron boat. I promise this is the last boat in the wave. There could have been a couple more boats I could have done, but I decided to cap it here because I just didn't want this entire wave to be boats. But anyways, you get Ward, Sarah, Wheezy, and Rose in terms of Cameron family minifigures, and then you would also get John B because he is kind of necessary to this set because he is in a lot of major scenes on this boat, and you would also get Topper. Topper's kind of a throw-in minifigure, but I thought it would still be cool if he was included here. The build inside of the set would be a massive boat, probably one of the biggest Lego boats we've ever gotten, and it would have to be faithful to the show's design. I'm thinking it would use one of those large boat pieces that they use for City in white, just to make the price not too high, and also just to give an easy base to the boat. But who knows, maybe they could do the entire thing brick built. And then it would have lots of interior space. You could have several rooms, because I know there are bedrooms on this boat. There's a kitchen. There is, of course, the scuba diving closet. There are tunnels. There's an intercom system, and there's the captain's cabin. You're going to get a lot of stuff inside of this boat, and so I'm thinking it would be $100 to $150. Again, probably on the higher end of that just because of how much you get inside of the set, but I wanted to put a lower price on there too because I feel like the minifigures aren't super stellar inside of the set. You do get 2 exclusives, but there just weren't many that I could include, and of course you would also get the jet ski and the little crane so that you could have John B escape during his famous fight with Ward. The next set is a very iconic location piece throughout the entire series, and that is, of course, the Outer Banks Lighthouse. The characters inside of the set would be JJ, Pope, John B, and Kiara, so you'd kind of get the 4 main Pogue characters here, and then you would get the lighthouse keeper and a police officer kind of just as a throw-in because I didn't want to include just 5 minifigures in a potentially $100+ set. Now, the build would be the very tall lighthouse that you see on screen, as well as a staircase that leads you all the way to the top, and then there would just be a little bit of living space for the lighthouse keeper, maybe like a bed and a small kitchen, and then the little deck towards the top where the lighthouse keeper tours Kiara and John B around. I'm thinking the price of the set would be probably $90 to $120 because it is a pretty big lighthouse. I just don't want it to be too expensive because, again, you don't get too many minifigures inside the set, but I tried to put in as many as I could, and I think overall this would be a really neat set that would be pretty desirable for many fans. The last set I have for you guys is probably the least likely because, first of all, LEGO doesn't really like to include religious imagery inside of the sets, even though this wasn't really used for religion at all throughout the entire season. And second, because of a moment shared between John B and Sarah towards the middle of the season. If you know, you know. Anyways, the characters inside of the set would be John B, Sarah, Topper, Kelsey, Rafe Cameron, Barry, the police officer, and an SBI agent. The build would be, of course, the church, and I think it would have a lot of interior space because churches are kind of wide open buildings. I haven't been to too many churches in my life, but from what I know, they are pretty wide open and spacious. And then it would also have the tower at the top where you could position John B and Sarah to be hiding from the characters. And you could also have a police build on the side, and I think the church build would have a lot of features where you could make it look like it's on fire and exploding and all that sort of stuff because of what happens towards the end of the season. The price would be $100 to $120 because I think it would be a pretty big building, but they could make it open from one side so it wouldn't be as expensive. And I think the police car would be a really good build, high quality, kind of like the Stranger Things one. Anyways, that's all I've got for you guys today. This video was kind of a huge gamble to make because I've found recently all my non-LEGO Harry Potter videos tend to flop and the LEGO Harry Potter videos tend to get tons of views. But if this video does well enough, I could make a wave too, and of course I do plan to make more set ideas once the second season comes out. I honestly can't wait because I love this show so much and I cannot wait to see more of it. Anyways, what do you guys think of my set ideas? Do you have any more set ideas that you would like to talk about in the comment section down below? And theoretically, if this wave were to come out, which sets would you buy and why? Let me know all of that in the comment section down below. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you later. Yasta out.